it's Melissa from Melissa's Creations. Today we are making this fun In the Trees card using the In the Trees stamp set from the Kre8tions catalog. I haven't used this stamp set very much, but it has so much potential, and I just love the idea of all of the possibilities that this stamp set has. I made this card especially for the new blog hop I am participating in, the Stampin' Hop. It's a blog hop for demos of all skill levels, so if you are interested, please let me know and I will get you in touch with the coordinator, Kayla Adams. Thanks, Kayla, for putting this hop together. I'm so excited to share my card for the hop. Let's get started. All right, so one of the things I wanted to note, actually there's a few, not gonna lie, there's a few things that I wanted to point out on this card for you guys. Number one, you can tell that banner is totally raised up. It is really fun to have such a level of dimension on there. And it does fold completely flat so that you can put it into an envelope and mail it. The next item to note are the clouds. This is the cloud stamp included in the stamp set, but I have turned it into a full cloud instead of a half cloud. We're going to go over how to do that. And last but not least, I wanted to point out the lights. If you can tell, there are some beautiful clear enamel dots covering those light bulbs. And I think it just gives it an extra dimension of beautiful sparkliness. I think that that is super cute and it's fun to touch. So those were some of the items I wanted to note on this card. Let me show you how I did them. So the pieces we are using today, I have a scrap of Whisper white cardstock. This measures 1/2 inch by 3 3/4 inches. I have a piece of Whisper white cardstock for our first mat. This measures 3 3/4 by 5. I have a piece of Daffodil Delight. This is my second card mat. This measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then on this card, I'm using a card base of Pacific Point. Standard card base, 5 1/2 by 8 1/2, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. I also have a variety of Whisper white scraps that I pulled out of my scrap drawer so that I can stamp all of the pieces that I need for my card. Now, I'm not going to say that this was a quick card because there is a lot of fussy cutting. Everything on here that is stamped is fussy cut with the exception of the birds, and I'm going to not count the banner because that's kind of a little different. But our hammock, our string of lights, both trees, and 3 of our clouds are all fussy cut. We're going to start with stamping our trees and all of the other images. We'll do some coloring and we'll do some cutting, and then we will get to assembling. So I have mounted up the tree image from the In the Tree stamp set. We're going to be stamping that with our Memento ink because we will be coloring it in using some of our Stampin' blends. So I'm going to ink up my tree and get 2 of those stamped down. And now I'm going to stamp my light string and some of the clouds. Now I'll show you my little trick with the clouds in just a second. First, let's stamp up those lights. And I just need 2 of those, so we're going to ink those up in our Memento and stamp 2 light strings. And now the trick for the clouds. So for this scrap piece of paper as well as a sticky note or another scrap piece of paper, what you're going to do is put your sticky note down on your paper, and then you're going to stamp the cloud, but don't stamp the line on your cardstock. Stamp the line on your sticky note so that when you peel the sticky note off, you have half of a cloud without that line. Then we're going to flip it around and do the same thing. So what you want to do this time is cover up the cloud with your sticky note just until you can see the tips of that cloud that you have stamped. So you can see right there is a little tip and right here is a little tip. And then we're going to stamp it again and line up the cloud that you stamped before with the edges of your cloud now. Make sure that your line of your cloud is on your sticky note, and then when you peel that off, you have a full cloud. Now, you may not be able to line up the lines perfectly, and I'm not too worried about that. I think it gives a little bit more character to the clouds when they're kind of, you know, wampus a little bit. And we're gonna be fussy cutting these out. So if you wanted to fussy cut directly onto those lines, then you won't even notice the cloud isn't lined up perfectly. All right, and while we have our black memento out, we're going to stamp our sentiment on our little banner piece here. So today I'm using "Have a Wonderful Day." I think that's a very nice sentiment. Can be used for lots of cards. We're going to stamp that right in the middle of our banner piece. And we also want to stamp that hammock. Now for the hammock, I'm going to be stamping it in Pacific Point. I'm also going to watercolor the hammock with my aqua painter. So we're going to ink that up and stamp that down. And remember, we're fussy cutting this out as well. All right, we're gonna watercolor that hammock. So I'm going to squeeze my ink pad a little bit to get a little pool on the lid and take my aqua painter, get a little bit of water in there. And we're going to, at the same time, watercolor our clouds as well. So first I'm just gonna take a couple of swipes on here. Don't go over the same spot twice or too many times. Otherwise, this paper will start to pill a little and it won't look very nice. So just make sure that you take care using your aqua painter on the regular Whisper White cardstock. And to watercolor our clouds, we are going to put a little bit of emphasis where those shadows are. So I'm just kind of going around the edges and swooping with the lines. And there we go. So that is it for the watercoloring on there. Use a piece of scratch paper to clean off your aqua painter. I'm going to use my Pacific Point and Daffodil Delight Stampin' Write markers from the Brights collection. And we're going to do a little bit of coloring on our lights. So I have my Pacific Point, and with the fine tip edge, we're just going to color in those little light bulb holder bits. I'm not an electrician. I do not know what they are called. If you know what they're called, make sure to leave me a comment below. But these little, you know, the things. The things where the light bulbs go. So we're just going to color those in real quick. And there is a fun little stamp in here. This little guy right here is perfect to stamp on top of our light bulbs. So I'm going to grab that guy out and mount him up. And we're going to use our brush tip on our Daffodil Delight Stampin' Write marker to color that in. Now you could definitely use the ink pad as well, but this works just fine too. So we're just going to line that up and get that stamped right down on there, and do that for each one of our lights. All right, now here's the part that probably takes quite a bit of time. Let's zoom you in a little bit here. We are going to color in our trees, and to do that I have two of the Stampin' Blends markers. These are the Old Olive, so we have a light and a dark. You can buy these individually, or you can buy them in a duo pack and get both of them together. You can also purchase the entire Stampin' Blends collection, which I am quickly discovering would have been the smartest move for me. I wasn't sure about the blends until I got some and played with them. Now I can't stop playing with them. They are awesome. So I highly recommend the blends. Now I'm also using a Stampin' Write marker in soft suede, and that's what we're going to use to color in our trunk. So there are quite a few sections of this trunk that are kind of sprinkled around in the trees up here. So just look carefully, get those colored in first, and then we will get to our leaves. All right, now for our Stampin' Blends, I'm going to use the fine tip edge here to color in a majority of the leaves, and then I'm going to come back in with my dark Old Olive Stampin' Blend and color in the shadows behind the leaves, and you'll see what I mean in just a second here. All right, once you have the light colored, I tried to only color in the leaves that were closed, that looked like complete leaves. And you can see there's still quite a bit of white space, and that's where our dark Old Olive Stampin' Blend is going to come in. We're going to fill in all of the dark gaps with that marker there. Whew. All right, now that we have all of that tree filled in, you can kind of see how the dark green kind of makes a shadow underneath those top layer of leaves. I think that looks really nice. If you are the type of person that likes to color and has the time to do that, it is a very beautiful way to color in that tree. Now, for those of you that may not have that much patience, what we're going to do next is for you. I'm going to use my light Stampin' Blend with the thick tip, and this time I'm just going to color in patches of the tree all at the same time instead of doing those little leaves individually. So I'm just going to pick out a couple of areas, and I am trying to kind of stay within those leaf patches, meaning I'm not, you know, going out of my lines too much. I'm staying within a section of leaves and making it kind of look more cohesive, I guess you could say. So we're just going to color in patches, and it definitely is a lot quicker to do it this way than it is to color in each one of those leaves individually, although both do look very, very pretty. All right, now that our trees are done, you can see the difference definitely in the way that they are both colored. Now, this tree here is very individual. It looks very realistic, I think, in my opinion. And then this tree here that we just kind of did splotches, it is still super cute, but I do have to say that putting a little bit more time into this tree is definitely worth it. All right, now we are going to fussy cut all of our pieces out. This is probably the part that takes the longest, and I think it might even take longer than coloring in those trees. So sit back, relax, put on some tunes, and fussy cut those shapes out. All right, with our fussy cutting complete, we are ready to assemble our card. I'm going to start with my Whisper White card mat, and we're going to pop some of these lovely little guys up. So I'm going to use my dimensionals, I'm using both the regular and the mini dimensionals on these trees. Now, to get our placement for our trees, our hammock needs to stretch between them. So I'm going to kind of place that hammock at the edge of the tree so it looks like it's going to wrap around, and then figure out where I'm going to put these little guys here. So if this reaches here, and I want to come down a little bit, so this tree is going to go right about there. It's a little crooked, but hey, you know, some trees don't grow straight, right? Now we'll get our other tree on there and get the placement for that. I want my hammock to be laying kind of low on my card because I'm going to have those strings of lights going across this as well. And it's okay if your tree has to poke off the edge of the card a little bit, because you still have about a ½ inch to play with when we get this all mounted up on the rest of our cardstock. Now I want my hammock to have a bend to it so it looks like it's popping off the card. So I'm going to take my bone folder and give it just a little tiny bit of a bend here, just slightly, not too much at all. And then I am going to take some fast fuse and just run a little bit on those hammock edges, the little strings there, just like that. Make sure it doesn't show on the front, tuck it behind. And now I can place my hammock down here. Okay. Good on that. Let's get those clouds popped up. So we'll turn those over, put dimensionals on the back. Glitter and clear epoxy shapes here. I'm going to use the smallest circles and put those onto my string of lights. This is so fun, and I love how this looks. And let's see, actually this is kind of like a medium size. I have the smalls on here, but since I stamped these lights with that little light bulb accent in that stamp set, I'm going to use the large circles on this one. I did not stamp them with this. I colored in the light bulbs with the Stampin' Right marker, and so I just used the small dots on those there. But we're going to use the large dots on these bulbs and see what the difference looks like. So I'm not sure if you can really tell on the camera or not, but those little dots just kind of give it a little extra shine, a little fun touch to those light bulbs. Now we're going to glue the bulbs down flat. So I'm going to take my multi-purpose liquid glue. I'm just going to put a teeny tiny bit. You really don't need much on this at all. So I'm just going to put a little tiny blob on the back of each of those little bulbs, and also at the very end. Kind of spread that out and up a little. And then we're going to place it so the strings go behind the trees. And I'm going to make these kind of go at an angle. My other card, I have them pretty much straight across, but I'm going to see what it looks like with a little bit of an angle to it. All right, now it's time to get our banner cut for our sentiment. So on the edges, I'm going to snip up just a little bit and then cut from corner to that middle cut. And that will give me my banner edges. So do that on the other side as well. And then to fold our banner, what we're going to do is fold back right at the end of that sentiment. So we're folding it so that the end of the sentiment is right where I'm folding and creasing. And then we're going to bend back again, just about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or so, maybe 1/8 of an inch. We're just going to fold it back so that we create that little banner, just like that. Do the same on the other side. So we're going to fold back until our sentiment reaches that edge. Give it a little crease. And then fold back your banner cut edge. All right, and there is our banner. Now, my other banner has a slight curve to it, so I'm just going to take my bone folder and just give that the slightest little curve right there. I'm going to put a little bit of fast fuse on those banner edges, just on those folded edges, not on the entire thing. So I have only put adhesive on these 2 little banner edge cuts here. Now we're going to make it flat with your fingers. So you're going to pinch it together, make it flat, and then you're going to adhere that right onto the trees. And then it will pop up on its own. All right, let's get this card finished. We're going to use fast fuse to adhere this beautiful piece of art to our Daffodil Delight card mat. And again, fast fuse to adhere that to our Pacific Point card base. There are just a few more final touches to add to this card. I'm going to stamp those fun little birds in my memento, and we're going to kind of put them off in the background here. Just a few that kind of accent the card slightly. So just a couple there, maybe a couple more down there. And now I'm going to take my Pacific Point Classic Stampin' Pad again with my aqua painter, and we're going to paint a few little shadows underneath some of our pieces here. So I'm going to just do a couple of swipes very lightly underneath my hammock, and then a few more gentle swipes underneath those clouds. And then don't forget the shadows under your trees. And there we are, creators. There is our fun card using the In the Trees stamp set for the Stampin' Hop blog hop this month. Let me know which card you prefer. Do you like the Pacific Point background or the Whisper white background better? I hope you enjoyed this project today. If you did, please give the video a big thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon to be notified when I upload new videos. You can get all the supplies that you need to make this gorgeous card over on my website at melissascreations.com. Just click on the Shop Now links, or you can scroll to the bottom of this blog post and click on any of the materials that I used today. You can also follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/mcreations and on Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest with the handle @mcreations. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.